So, welcome to our first episode. There's a lot of things and struggle that happen when you are trying to grow your business. Everything actually started with a hustle. And if you're a business owner, this might resonate with you. Growth for me is really inevitable. People need to understand how to systematize things. Hey everyone, welcome to our very first episode. And I'm so excited to actually do this one. I've been doing podcasts. I think this is going to be my third or fourth podcast, and it's just kind of like aligning with things. So this year is actually 2026, and I kind of want to mention that one because it's going to be a turning point of just looking back and seeing the years that I have been building business. And when this new podcast came about, I was just so excited and see how I can actually bring in more impact to the business community. So welcome to our first episode. And it's really something that a lot of business owners go through, because I really do believe that when you're building a business, one of your main goals is to actually grow. I don't think we spend a lot of hours in just think that where we are now is just where we want to be years in or years out, right? So, but as you work through that process of growing, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of time to do so. And there's a lot of things and struggle that happen when you are trying to grow your business. So in 2025, I have really been trying to figure out what is my main concept in my business and all the things that I do. So I started in my journey when I migrated here in the US 2015, and I was trying to figure things out. What am I really meant to do here? Was I'm just going to be stuck working somewhere in a retail? That was my very first job. But I do have an experience in sales and marketing when it comes to the business side, right? So I was really just like, you know what? I am bound for something better. Growing a business can really be a challenge to a lot of us business owners, especially if we don't have the background of what we are doing. Everything actually started with a hustle. We try to think that, you know what, I want to do a side gig, whether you're working full time or maybe you haven't worked for quite some time. And you think, I think it's about time for me to figure things out and go into the business world. Hey everyone, my name is Joanna, and I'm going to be your host for this new podcast. After all the podcasts that we've actually published, I'm so excited to actually start this one. So my whole journey is I was born and raised in the Philippines. I came here around 2015, and it has really been almost 10 years, 10 years. And I really didn't start the entrepreneurial journey. I have no background at all. I was doing sales and marketing in the Philippines from different type of industry. And when I came here, I was just working part-time because, newlywed, new town. I didn't want to give way too much of a sudden more shift in what the transition that I've been doing. So I really started just working part-time. And then there was a time in my life that I said, you know what? I am meant for more. I am meant to create something more because I know I can offer more. And what actually this country allowed me to do is to actually reinvent myself and try to figure how I can create impact on people using my talent, using my skills, using my message. So I started diving into the entrepreneurial world without anyone telling me how crazy it is and how hard it is. But it is one of the most fulfilling thing I believe I have experienced, and I am still experiencing. And if you're a business owner, this might resonate with you. Hustle really started everything. You're trying to work more than the number of hours as an employee somewhere. You might be working on different time, even on weekends, even on vacation time. I bet you've experienced that one. But I always know that if you are in business, one of the key things that you are always imagining is that you are going to grow what you have built now. But the challenge is scaling can be really difficult. It's like business is growing, but something feels off. Or maybe it's success mixed with fear, as well as not failing, or what will other people say if I fail. Growth for me is really inevitable if you plan things out. I always believe that a dream or a hustle start all of this dream that we have, but architecture, if you want to grow, system is where you are going to scale up. So our podcast is going to be behind the growth gap. One of the things that I really love talking about. So mid 2025, I was trying to figure out what is my main concept? How can I express more of the things that I really do in order for the people whom I want to serve understand what is it really I am doing. So if this resonates with you, I'm a multi-passionate person and I love doing multiple creative things that expresses my skills in different vehicles or different ways that I can actually express that one. But as you know, right, an unclear message is so hard if people don't understand what is it that you're really doing. So as I dive into business, so one of the core things that I really do when I first started is I was a design and marketing agency, which I'm still in. Our brand is Savvy Chic Design, wherein we help a lot of businesses when it comes to their visibility, branding, anything that you can see in the visual side of the business. And then I realized that there's more beyond the front end. There's also that part that people need to understand how to systematize things. How are they going to work with those leads that they have been working with after they've had them in their list or in their pipeline or in their booking, right? How can people do that? And that's where I decided, you know what, I'm going to invest on a software and I've branded it as EmpowerSoft. So that is our CRM platform that we offer to our businesses. But then I had to step back during that time that because people started to ask me, so are you just EmpowerSoft or are you also Savvy Chic Design? I said, no, both still exist. And then they asked me, why did you do that one? Because I saw a gap. I saw a gap in a growing business that at times they focus too much on their front end and they were actually forgetting on their back end. And I said, like, you know what? That's the gap. I am closing a gap that a lot of growing businesses are experiencing. And that's actually where the growth gap, our book, actually came about. And this was also inspired by our amazing coach Michael Burt. He has really activated my prey drive. He has a book called Flip the Switch. I love that one. I've just dived into. I'm part of his Greatness Factory in Nashville. So what we do is that I love how he actually positioned that everyone deserves to be in the bigger table. And as I try to grow my business because I want to serve more people who I know that I can serve more, I went full in with his mentorship and I am learning a lot. And by creating that concept, as I talked to a lot of scaling businesses right now, they've really experienced the gap that they have. And I myself, as I was scaling, I was really experiencing it. So here's a story that I'd love to share as well, because I'd love you all to understand why this episode or why this podcast is coming about this time. And to create more excitement around it, I'd love you for sure to hang out with me for every episode because it's going to be a journey for us growing businesses. It's going to be our way of knowing that we are not alone in our journey of scaling, in our journey of hitting the next milestone of income, hitting the next milestone of growth in our business, right? So I remember this one. early years of our marriage with my husband is that we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and we had this amazing, I think it was a Marriott hotel that has a lazy river. So if you all are from Tennessee, let me know if I'm correct, if I'm going, I'm not remembering that place anymore. But I remember that time I was already growing, meaning I was funneling, getting clients, booking clients for projects, and it was me doing everything. And that's when I started to actually try to put in and bring in more people into the business. So I started to hire a contractor, but I didn't have that much process yet. And when you are starting, if you're the owner and you started everything and you're starting to see sales, you want things done your way. You want everything, you want to make sure that it's done how you have been doing it because you've already created a standard for your business. You've already created that process for your business. But the hard part is that you actually haven't documented those first. And everything is running in your mind. And I always say in our book, right, if it's everything is running in your mind, that is actually not a system. Because once you're gone, that system is gone as well. So you need to make sure that when you're trying to scale is that you're able to really document everything that you are doing and take a pause. So going back, I was trying to have a vacation and something happened. I got a message from a client that the website wasn't running and I had to pause. I had to tell my husband, you know what? I'm going to go to the room right now. I'm going to figure out, and I have my laptop because I was already anticipating this. Something might happen, and it's one of my biggest project right now. So when you have that one, right, you want to put in your best foot forward when it comes to that. So I said like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to, fix this one. But behind that, I was crying inside. I was missing a very important time with my husband to enjoy that moment, but because I was not prepared and I told the developer that I contracted, you know what, I'm going to take care of it. You know what, I'm just going to do it my way because I'm faster. And that's one of the key things at times, right? When we're growing, we think like we know everything and it's so hard for us to delegate as well. So this might be something that you're experiencing in your business and you are growing, but everything relies on you. And we're going to be inviting business owners, experts who actually went through the process of growing and scaling, hitting their first million, hitting their first maybe 500,000, 500,000, whatever that is. And this is the reason why I said, you know what? Growth showing pressure or growth is actually not the problem. It's when you are not prepared for that is where the problem is. So I always say, as a business owner, our main goal is to get to the next level. I bet that is your goal for this year, to create the next income milestone, the next activities or the next launch that you would like to do. But when you're not aware and you're not ready, it's going to be hard to do that. And that's when we get burnout. That's when we kind of just want, you know what, why am I doing this? We're questioning ourselves because we are not preparing ourselves to really close that gap on everything that we are doing. So why this podcast exists? Most growth the growth conversation stop attraction, right? Few talks on what happened after it works, but also few talks about what have you been through. We're going to start that conversation. We're going to know like what are the crazy things that happened during that pivotal moment of growth that they have in their business. So this podcast is not hype, hustle, or motivation. That's not what I want to do. It's about sustainability, structure, and truth. That's why behind the growth gap needed to exist. And I was really thinking, okay, what's the next title for this one? What is really the mission? What is really the goal? I think that's one thing, right? If you're a listener, if you're watching this right now, you're wondering, why will I give you 45 minutes of my time if it's just gonna be a waste of my time? I mean, I've been there. I've listened, like it was so nice on the title, but then all of a sudden it's like, what did I learn from there again? So right, it's just so hard. So let's talk about this one as well, because even at this first episode, I want you all to get something out of it. And maybe let's reflect a little bit on our journey. If you are already trying to scale, trying to figure this one out, let's try about the different phases that we have. And I'm going to share to you as well what is the framework that I use in order for you to close the gap. So let's talk a little bit about our early phases in our business, because this might be something that a lot of you might resonate as well. You know, we wear multiple hats. We say yes to everything, hustle working at the beginning, and every milestone in growth is a validation that, hey, we are trying to figure things one out. But one of the things that I've really learned during that phase is that it is really a little bit hard to let go of some things that we were wearing and trusting other people that they understand what it is that we are doing. And when growth gets heavy, like more leads, more clients, more pressure, everything runs through you. Every approval needs your go signal. Follow up, live in my head. Everything is just like, I'm so exhausted. Like, why did I get into this if I can't even let go of some of the things that I want to let go? So here's one thing that I always say, that when you are already experiencing growth, when you start telling either your contractors or teams that I'm the bottleneck, once you start saying that, I would really say is to step back a little bit and diagnose what is happening in your business right now. Because we are not in business to tie ourselves up and that everything lives in our mind, and that when we go on a vacation, everything shuts down. That ought not to be our goal. If we are growing, we need to let go of some of these things, right? And if decision still depends on you, that is so hard. What will happen if something very important needs to be done and you're not there? Will business or project, will your clients be hanging on a thread waiting for you? And that's not one thing I want to happen to you. So if you're really trying to figure out the next level in your business, we need to talk about the gap that is happening and be mindful so that we are more aware of what needs to be done, because we want to scale and we want to grow. So when I was then thinking and looking back on everything that I have been doing for my clients, so I was already able to come up with a concept. So the growth gap, closing the growth gap. Then I had to look back and reflect as well. What were the things that I was doing in order to help address the gap? How are we going to close it? So I was just looking back on my documentation and how I do my sales calls and how I do the onboarding, how to do the kickoff, how I do the implementation, the build. And I was able to come up with a simple framework. It's called the DABAO, DABAO. And this is actually discussed in our book as well, The Growth Gap, which is available on Amazon if you want to check that one out. You can actually go to joannasherrow.com book. You can order there if you want to. But I said, so let's talk about this. So I'm going to share with you all, if you are growing right now, trying to grow and trying to figure out how are you going to connect all of these things. Now, I specialize more on the marketing, the acquisition side of the business, using marketing strategies and marketing tools, and connecting them to the client relationship management so that you can maintain, nurture them, and reactivate them, meaning you can let them purchase again on the different offers in your business based on the journey that they go through by working with you. So let's address this one, right? Because this is the thing. Our podcast is all about behind the growth gap, to close the growth gap that you are experiencing. And if you're not yet there, but you know that you're going to scale this year, I want you to be ready for it. And this framework is something that I would love to share. So it always starts with D, which is diagnosing. I don't know if you have this one, or maybe you've experienced it. So, me personally, I was rushed in the ER 2 times, 2023 and last year, 2025. I was so stressed. I was really just going through a lot of things, business wise mostly. And I was having a hard time. Blood pressure was up. I had to drive myself to the ER because I was really not feeling well. And the very first thing that they actually do to you is that the reason why you sit there in the room or in the bed or wherever that is in the clinic is because they go through a series of scan before they can diagnose, right? So we usually they scan, they do all of these things, they see they analyzing, they're doing this. That's also something that you need to do in your business. You need to diagnose. After looking into the different things, you need to pause and do the first step, which is diagnosing. Diagnose where the things are leaking, happening, failing. And this is actually the reality that it can be a mirror of you as a business owner. And you should not take offense by it, because the reality, the more aware you are, the better it is for you to take action. So when there's a gap, whether it's in business operation, sales operation, fulfillment, or anything in your business side, start with diagnosing. Sit down and really carve that time. And to be honest, as a business owner, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, you just have contractors, or maybe you are already starting to hire people, carving that 2, 3 hours, 5 hours is really hard for us. But if you really want to scale, you need to pause and really schedule that so that you can diagnose what is happening in your business. Next process is going to be really aligning things in what you have diagnosed. Aligning if you have people, aligning your process, and aligning even the platform that you're going to use to help you out. So in the DABO framework, the first one is diagnosing, right? Making sure that you cover everything that is going wrong. As you can see, I'm focusing more on what is going wrong, what is happening. And then you're aligning everyone that needs to be involved. If it's just you need to make sure that you're aligned with what you are trying to solve. If you have team members, you want to make sure that the people who's going to implement it is going to be aligned by what you are going to build. You want to make sure that the platform that you are going to choose is aligned with where you want to go and how you're going to address the gaps in your business. You want to make sure that you're doing this. Because think of it this way. If you've experienced, or maybe you know somebody who's actually building a house from the ground up, not pre-selling, really constructing it from the ground up, the very first thing that they'll have is actually a blueprint. That's the very first thing. And that is where it falls under alignment. You want to make sure everything is aligned. And going back, you need then to remember the 3 P's that you need to go through. Aligning the people, aligning the process, and also aligning the platform that you're going to use. Because now you're ready for the next step, which is, in the DABO framework, is letter B, which is building. Building things out that you have aligned based on the blueprint that you have created, because based on the diagnosis that came up. So it all is correlated. And I'm so excited about this because when I really came with the concept with the help of amazing Coach Bert and also his integrator, Jana Krill, it really made me realize that, yes, this is really how I've been doing in helping businesses. So as you can see, now that you're going to build it, now building takes time. A lot of business owners really are just so let's move it fast. Let's make it quick. Even me myself is guilty with that one. But if you're aware again, right, that what you're building right now is for the long haul or for the long game, you will understand and value of patience. You will understand that, okay, let's figure this one out, but do not let that building make you not implement things at the same time. Because within that process, really going to be testing, building it, really trying to implement it. really being able to take the time to make sure what you have diagnosed and what you are trying to align through the blueprint is what you're going to be building. Then it's going to be activating. A lot of people loves the planning part and forget the implementation part. It's really activating what you have built already and making sure that those people that you have aligned, the platform that you have selected, the process that you have documented are being activated. So I always say this one in the very beginning as well, right? That activation is the most pivotal part of the whole process in closing the gap, because what happens is that it will provide you feedback, and feedback is actually what you need when you are building something, because when you try to activate it, you are trying to use it. You cannot be investing in something and not just using it because, oh, I don't have time, or this is not what I need right now. I need to focus on X, Y, and Z. You need to be mindful of those things that you are doing. You want to make sure that you are implementing what you have planned out and mapped out, because that will give you feedback. So once you have diagnosed, right? So I always say diagnosing gives you data. Alignment gives you direction. Then you start building things. You have implemented it. And then now it starts to activate it. Then you bring in again the people, the process, and the platform and test it out. And from there, ask for feedback, constant feedback, training people, making sure that they understand what is it that they're doing and you're just not passing it on in part of your process. Like, here you go, we're done. Try to figure this one out. You need to make sure as a business owner or anyone who's responsible and trying to close the gap of your growing business, that you're taking the time to actually activating it to all the people that is involved so that it will be a success. Now, doing this doesn't actually mean that it's set and done. It needs to be optimized. It needs to be reviewed. It needs to maybe be tweaked. So here's a process that we do when we follow this one, even in my business. So I love doing SOP. Now, detailed oriented, way being detailed is going to be another story. I love looking at the the top view of everything that I implement, right? I know what I want. I know what I want. I know what I want to implement. I know what I'm going to do. So SOP for me is very important in my company or in my business. And I hope this is as well for you. Here's one thing I want to share. When I was starting off, I always have the mindset that what if we're going to have 10 clients, 20 clients? How are we going to manage it? I always have the dream of thinking big. I always have the dream of making things happen. I always have like, what if I have a top part of the 500 top companies in the US, right, to work with, to serve with, right? They're going to be our client. How are we going to be prepared for that? So I always have the mindset of what if? So let's create a process that will address that. If we have 10 clients, if we have a big ticket client, how are we going to do that one? I always have that mindset. So I prepare things in terms of SOP, standard operating procedure, right? I know you've know that one already, but so that's the thing that I love doing, because it creates a process for me to go to the next level. But one thing, going back to the DABAO framework, wherein we are already in the last part, which is optimizing it, is that I always say now, so the SOP was created when I was doing more of the work. Once that hand over to my team, the reason why I do that one, because I want to make sure that if A is absent, team B can do the same process that team A was doing in terms of email communication. So we have email templates. In terms of the next stage, if this has been submitted already, right? These are intentional process, and you need to do if you are growing a business as well. You want to make sure that you are doing this in your own company. So when you're optimizing, you need to review everything that you have and allow those who are now implementing either the process, either whatever it is, whoever is implementing, give them the freedom to edit what was created already so that it can be growing as you grow. You cannot be just following the same 2,000 workflow for a 2026 workflow. I bet there are already changes that had happened through your transaction, through the new types of client you might be serving now. Because here's one thing that I've realized: when business or your business is scaling already, at times your first client is going to be different already on who you're serving right now. It might be the same, but maybe different type. Maybe they're also on their next stage of their business because you grow. I believe that when you're stagnant still, you are just fearful of growth, that you just make yourself so little that you're not trying to, because you are just so comfortable with your comfort zone right now. And that is the worst thing you can be in as a business owner. Maybe you have been in years already in the business and you're just, oh, I'm just happy with this one. Oh, I'm already just gonna stick with this one because there's too much work involved in growing. There's too much more work involved when you're scaling, right? And this is where I don't want growth to be something to be feared of. I want growth and scaling to be something that you're prepared for. That even you're just starting, maybe you're just in your first year in business, second year, fifth year. Just imagine, what if you'll hit your first million? What are the things involved? And you also have to be honest yourself if you really want that one, because I can't force you to have that dream, right? I always had this one. So I have a sales coach that is helping me make sure that I can, position myself as well, because the more you position yourself, the more people know how you can help them, and the more you know as well if you can help them. right? Right? So you want as well that way, is that I cannot do things for other businesses. I can only do what I can do for them, and knowing that I might be the right fit, right? And that's where the whole consultation comes in with part of our ecosystem in the Growth Gap Consulting. So I think at the end of the day, when we are trying to really grow our business, it's really just understanding that we are meant for more, and we are prepared. And if we are fully prepared for growth, we can really go to the next level, because the more we are ready for that, the more that we can serve the people who needs our help. So I'm so excited to actually have this amazing conversation with other business owners whom we can learn from, other experts that can really give us their tips on how they also help other growing businesses, and bringing in more local conversation of successes and wins, and even challenges is very important. Having that conversation is very important. And that's why Behind the Growth Gap is going to be unlocking under the hood of what was working, what was not working, and really having that conversation. Because I always believe that everyone deserves a conversation and success to be celebrated, but also acknowledging the challenges, the difficulties that one go through in running a business. So welcome to Behind the Growth Gap. I'm so excited that you're here with me. So if you can do me a favor, please do subscribe to our channel as well as in our podcast. It allows me to invest more and more quality production and invite more quality guests. I really said is that when I'm going to do another podcast, I want to elevate more. I want to tap the best people in town that can help me. And I just want to give a shout out as well to Louisville Studio Podcast. So, because they have all of these things, like as much as I would love to invest it in my own place, I just love how amazing it is. And we always support business owners, right? Who are creating an impact on the community as well. And I'm just so excited to have that conversation with amazing business owners. And if you know anyone that is local to us, we're basically here around Central Kentucky, and have that conversation, please send them our way. We'd love to have somebody, because that's one thing. As much as I would love to have my own voice in each of the podcasts, I love to have that conversation. So again, guys, my name is Joanna Sherrow. I am your business growth architect, the builder and the visionary, the author of The Growth Gap and the Dabao framework system. And if you want to purchase our book, you can go to joannasherrow.com/book, and you can follow us with all of our social media. You will surely find me there. And if you need any help when it comes to like website, marketing, systems, automation, that's where we come in. But I'm so excited to have this conversation with a lot of business owners. And for you hanging out with me, I'll really appreciate that one. So I'll see you on our next episode.